This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael, I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen Airplane, a disaster comedy movie from 1980 directed by David Zucker, Jim Abrahams, and Jerry Zucker. It follows Ted Stryker, a wartime pilot whose squadron dies because of a decision he made in the heat of battle, resulting in long-term guilt and a drinking problem that affects his marriage. He finds that his wife is leaving him, and he manages to board her flight to plead his case. But their issues are soon overshadowed by a greater threat when the in-flight meal is contaminated and passengers are becoming gravely ill. Worse, the two pilots have both become sick, and only one passenger on the flight has any experience, but wait a minute. Okay, even before getting stuck here, it was never a secret that this movie was based on 0 Hour. The primary storyline is lifted almost directly from that film, as are a few lines of dialogue and even a few camera angles and shots. Unlike that source material, however, this movie takes everything about the airplane disaster genre and mocks it as a whole. Some new ideas are present which weren't in the original film, probably to reflect more on where the genre and formula had gone since that movie, but it's hardly anything that requires knowledge of those later entries. In any case, pretty much anything and everything old and new about this movie is treated with tongue-in-cheek. Characters may say their lines with sincerity and emotion, but there's always something to keep it from being truly straight and honest. As for the writing itself, jokes are either delivered through dialogue or visual gags, and they're all well crafted and appropriate for the scenes, with no non sequiturs or random gags, or at least none that stand out. Everything generally has some setup and payoff. Furthermore, it makes for a comedic showcase that doesn't ask for anything from the viewers other than laughs. There isn't much to be said about the technical details of the movie, though it's again where much of the comedy comes through. Cinematography is generally practical, setting up visual gags and letting performances play out, though with everything still being framed in a way to draw the viewer's attention to where to look for the next laugh. Editing also has its strength in match cutting and an excellent sense of timing, especially with how many jokes are told within the film's runtime. It's further able to balance the story with raw humor, and so it knows how to pace itself without overloading the viewer. As for the actual production value, anything that can be said about its strengths or weaknesses is generally done for the sake of a joke, whether it be an obvious special effect or an elaborate set piece. Some of the more inventive jokes of the film are self-referential, acknowledging the movie's status as, well, a movie. Ultimately, that's the point, in my opinion. That is, at no point does this movie want to be a serious takedown of the genre, but instead highlight the cliches of the disaster genre. Granted, it did apparently completely kill any hope or momentum for the airplane disaster movie, but that seems more like an inability to adapt. But that's just me. I'm probably making this sound more deep than it actually is. Airplane. David Zucker, Jim Abrahams, Jerry Zucker, 1980. 4.5 stars. I definitely recommend seeing it. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you have something to add, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I don't have too much to say about this movie, honestly. It's another one of those films that explains itself, so I don't actually have to do all that much. Sort of.